I thought today was just another Friday until I saw my wife's face trending online. The photo showed her holding hands with A-list actor Chris Evans, walking on a beach with a little girl who looked about 8 or 9. A watermark in the lower right corner read, "Chris Evans' private vacation photos leaked, Miami." The kicker? The little girl looked just like Chris Evans. And my wife, Jessica Miller, was in the kitchen, making me dinner. I stared at my phone, the world spinning. The woman in the photo was definitely my wife. I knew that face better than anything, the one lying next to me every night. But why was she on a beach in Miami with Chris Evans? I zoomed in on the photo. Jessica's smile was so natural, so sweet. She didn't look stressed from being photographed candidly. And the little girl not only looked like Evans, but she even walked a similar way. "Honey, dinner's ready." Jessica's voice called from the kitchen, gentle as always. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. Coming. On the way to the dining room, I studied Jessica's face. She seemed no different than usual. She was even humming, in a good mood. "How was work today?" she asked, serving me soup. "Fine," I said, trying to sound normal. "What did you do today?" "Just read and did some yoga." "Oh, I was thinking about getting a spa treatment next week. Is that okay?" She batted her eyelashes at me, like a little girl asking for an allowance. "Next week," I sneered inwardly. Next week she'd be seeing her actor husband? "Sure," I said. "Go wherever you want." Jessica gave me a quick kiss. "Thanks, honey, you're the best." I looked into her clear eyes. If I hadn't seen that photo, I never would have believed that this sweet, domestic woman was capable of lying to me. During dinner, I couldn't resist checking my phone again. The trending topic had been removed, and all related discussions had been scrubbed clean. That kind of speed and thoroughness meant someone powerful was behind it. I thought of Jessica's occasional mysterious trips, those supposed girls' nights out, those times she said she was visiting her mom, but never let me drive her. Everything made sense now. "What's wrong, honey?" "You're being quiet," Jessica said, concerned. "Nothing, just work," I said, putting my phone down. "Hey, do you know the actor Chris Evans?" I saw Jessica's hand freeze for a split second, but she quickly recovered. "Of course, he's a big star right now." "What?" "A friend mentioned he might invest in Evans' next movie and asked if I was interested." "That's great. His movies must make a lot of money," Jessica said, smiling, but I saw a flicker of panic in her eyes. I nodded, dropping the subject. But I was now sure of one thing. Jessica knew Chris Evans, and their relationship was far from simple. After dinner, Jessica went to take a shower. I took the opportunity to check her phone. Her call history was clean, and her WhatsApp messages were normal. But I noticed that her photo album had no photos of us together. It was all selfies and landscapes. What normal wife doesn't have photos of herself and her husband? I kept scrolling and found the answer in a hidden album. There were dozens of photos of her and Chris Evans and the little girl. The photos spanned many years, the oldest dating back 10 years. 10 years. That was when we got married. My hand trembled. I'd been a joke from the start. Water sounds came from the bathroom. Jessica was still showering. I quickly put her phone back and tried to look normal. But I felt dead inside. Over the next few days, I secretly began investigating. As a film investor, I had connections in Hollywood. It wasn't hard to find out about a celebrity's past. I contacted Scoop Johnson, the most seasoned paparazzi in the business. A heavy guy who specialized in digging up celebrity secrets. Johnson had enough dirt to ruin half of Hollywood. "So, Mr. Thompson, why the sudden interest in Chris Evans?" Johnson asked between bites of barbecue ribs. "Considering investing in his movie. Just want to check his character," I said, offering him a cigarette. "Tell me what you know." Johnson lit the cigarette, inhaling deeply. "Evans, on the surface, is Mr. Perfect, but he has a lot going on behind the scenes." "Like what?" "He's been married for years, has a daughter, but he's hiding it to maintain his single image." Johnson lowered his voice. "I've been following him for years. His wife is pretty hot. Rich girl." My heart pounded. "You've seen his wife?" "Yeah, got photos." Johnson took out his phone. "I haven't dared to publish them. Evans has too much power." He showed me several photos. The woman was Jessica. "What's her name?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Jessica Miller. Daddy's loaded, real estate mogul. She and Evans went to college together. They were together back then." Johnson continued, "Married 10 years ago, but kept it secret. 10 years ago, when Jessica and I got married." "How old is their daughter?" 8 or 9, looks just like Evans." Johnson glanced at me. "Why are you so interested in this stuff, Mr. Thompson? Not planning to leak it, are you?" I shook my head. "Just curious." "Good. Don't mess with this story. Evans' PR team is hardcore. Last time a tabloid tried to expose him, they were shut down the next day." I nodded, seething inside. Evans could be powerful, but he couldn't match the resources I had. Back home, Jessica was watching TV in the living room. Seeing me, she immediately came to greet me. Honey, you're home. Dinner's ready. Your favorites. She stood on her toes and kissed me. I looked at her innocent face, disgusted. This woman's acting was better than any Oscar winner. Jess, how long have we been married? I asked suddenly. 10 years, she said, smiling. Why the question? Just thinking how fast time flies, I sighed deliberately. Have you ever regretted marrying me? Jessica's eyes flickered, then she hugged my arm. Regret it? You're so good to me. I'm the luckiest woman in the world. Luckiest woman. I almost laughed. A woman with 2 men was certainly living the good life. If I died one day, what would you do? I probed. Jessica froze, a hint of panic in her eyes. Honey, don't say things like that. Just hypothetically. If that ever happened. She paused. I would mourn you forever. Mourn forever. I sneered inwardly. She'd probably be rushing to go public with Chris Evans. At dinner, my phone rang. It was my assistant, Kevin. Mr. Thompson, I have the information you requested. I glanced at Jessica. She was eating, seemingly oblivious to the call. Email it to me, I said tersely. After hanging up, I excused myself to the study and opened my laptop. Kevin had sent a detailed report about Jessica and Chris Evans, their child, and how they'd managed to deceive me for 10 years. Jessica's father, Robert Miller, was indeed a real estate developer and an early investor in Evans movies. Jessica and Evans started dating in college and married soon after graduating. But to protect Evans' career, they decided to keep their marriage a secret. Jessica even changed her name, adopting her current identity, and I was just a pawn in their scheme, a tool to cover their tracks. I read on, discovering more infuriating details. Jessica had not only used my identity as a cover, but also exploited my connections to help finance Evans' movies. Those projects I thought I'd come across by chance were actually orchestrated by her. I recalled Jessica's occasional suggestions about good projects from friends, her perfectly timed compliments about certain actors, her unusually keen interest in Hollywood gossip. Everything fell into place. I was a complete fool. At the end of the report was a DNA test result. The little girl was indeed Evans' daughter, named Lily Evans. I closed the laptop, feeling a crushing weight on my chest. 10 years of marriage, all a lie. 10 years of love, just my own delusion. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. They could act for 10 years, so could I. But from today, the rules of the game were changing. For the next week, I acted like I knew nothing, secretly gathering more evidence. I hired 3 private investigators to track Jessica and Chris Evans. Soon, I had their entire date schedule. Whenever Jessica said she was going out with her girlfriends or visiting her parents, she was actually meeting with Chris Evans. They had a routine. Jessica would tell me she was going out the day before, then leave early the next morning. She'd meet Evans at a hotel, or sometimes bring their daughter. And I, the idiot, never suspected a thing, even giving her money to have fun. My fist clenched. What infuriated me more was that Evans' friends in Hollywood all knew about his wife, except for me. At an industry party, I deliberately mentioned Chris Evans. Heard Chris Evans is a great actor, keeps his personal life clean, I said casually. The producer sitting across from me, Tony, laughed. Mr. Thompson, you're joking. Evans' personal life clean? He's got a wife and kid, nothing clean about that. He's married? I feigned surprise. Of course, just not public. His wife's a rich girl who married an investor, I hear. Tony lowered his voice. But I heard the investor got cheated on and doesn't even know it. Pity. My blood froze. I was not only a deceived husband, but a joke in the industry. Who's the investor? I asked, trying to stay calm. Don't know. Heard his name was Thompson. Tony waved his hand. We only talk about this in private. Evans' PR team is too good. Thompson. I nearly exploded. I fought back the anger, continuing the conversation, but I was plotting revenge. Back home, I locked myself in the study and began formulating my plan. They could deceive me for 10 years. I'd make them pay tenfold. I took out a pen and paper, carefully planning each step. First, I needed to gather enough evidence to ensure they couldn't deny it. Second, I needed to choose the right moment to expose them. Finally, I needed to use my resources and connections to ensure they could never work in this town again. Imagining Jessica begging for forgiveness, Evan's career in ruins, I felt a little better. But not enough. A ruined career couldn't avenge 10 years of deception. They had to pay with their lives. Just then, Jessica knocked on the study door. Honey, still working so late? I made you some tea. She came in with a teacup, a gentle smile on her face. If I didn't know the truth, I would be moved by her act. Thanks, I said, taking the cup and looking at her. Honey, is something wrong? You seem preoccupied. She sat next to me, concerned. Nothing, just work. I said dully. Take care of yourself, she said, stroking my shoulder. We're gonna grow old together. Grow old together. I almost laughed. Jess, I said, suddenly grabbing her hand. If I found out you lied to me, what do you think I'd do? Jessica turned pale. Honey, why are you saying this? I would never lie to you. Just hypothetically. I stared into her eyes. If you betrayed me, I'd make you regret ever being born. Her hand trembled, but she quickly regained her composure. Honey, you're acting weird. I never betray you. I swear. Swear. This woman had the nerve to swear. I released her hand, pretending to be nonchalant. It's late. Go to bed. I need to work a little longer. Don't stay up too late. She kissed me, then left the study. Watching her go, I sneered inwardly. Keep acting. We'll see who laughs last. The next day was Saturday. I suggested going shopping with Jessica. Really? You said you were busy. Jessica looked surprised. Too busy to spend time with my wife. I said, smiling. Let's go, let's relax. Jessica happily took my arm. I'll change. Watching her excitement, I felt even more disgusted. She thought I was being nice, but I was just testing her. At the mall, we passed a movie theater. The posters were for Chris Evans' new movie. Heard this movie is good, I said deliberately. Jessica glanced at the poster, looking uncomfortable. Really? Let's watch it. Don't you hate his movies? I recalled Jessica saying he was a bad actor. No, when did I say that? Jessica said quickly. He's actually a good actor. I nodded, changing the subject. But my suspicions were confirmed. We spent the afternoon shopping. I bought Jessica expensive jewelry and clothes. She was like a kid, thanking me repeatedly. Seeing her sincere smile, I felt a pang of sorrow. If only it were real. But it was all fake. That night, I got a call from the private investigator. Mr. Thompson, important discovery. I went to the balcony, making sure Jessica couldn't hear. Speak. While you were shopping this afternoon, Chris Evans was at the same mall. He was tracking you, we observed. My heart raced. Are you sure? Positive. And we found out that Jessica texted him while she was trying on clothes. So, she was happy not because I took her shopping, but because she could be in the same place as her lover. Anything else? Yes. Evans is preparing for a new movie, financed by an offshore company. Our investigation suggests the owner of the company is likely Jessica's father. I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath. I was a pawn in their scheme. They were using my connections and resources to pave the way for Evan's career. Do you need us to keep investigating? Yes. I want all their secrets. Hanging up, I stood on the balcony, looking at the night. For 10 years, I thought I had a perfect marriage. I was living a lie. From tomorrow, they'd pay for it. Back in the bedroom, Jessica was in bed, using her phone. Seeing me, she immediately put it down. Honey, I had a great day. Thanks for taking me shopping. You're welcome. I lay down next to her. Jess, I might go on a business trip. Where? LA, important project. Jessica's eyes lit up, then she quickly concealed it. Be careful. Take care of yourself. I knew why she was happy. When I was gone, she could meet Chris Evans without hiding. I will. I hug her. Jess, I love you. I love you too, honey. Listening to her words, I opened my eyes in the dark. That was the last time I'd say I loved her. From tomorrow, we were enemies. I didn't actually go to LA. I stayed at the company guest house. The next morning, I watched Jessica leave the house on the security camera. The private investigator reported she was headed to Chris Evans' private villa. I followed, parking at a cafe across from the villa. At 10:30, a black BMW pulled into the villa. Chris Evans got out. At 11 o'clock, another car arrived. An 8 or 9-year-old girl got out. I took out my camera, carefully photographing the scene. The girl was Lily Evans, Chris Evans, and Jessica's daughter. Watching the happy family, my heart broke. This was supposed to be my life. I should have a loving wife, a cute daughter, a warm family. But they took it all away. I sat at the cafe all day, taking photos. These photos would prove their relationship. At 5 p.m., Jessica left the villa, looking refreshed and happy. I didn't follow her, I waited. At 6:30 p.m., Evans left the villa, also looking happy, singing in the car. Seeing their smiles, my anger peaked. They'd been acting in front of me for 10 years, while living a happy life. I was a fool. Back home, Jessica was busy in the kitchen. Seeing me, she greeted me. Honey, you're back? I thought you were gone for a few days. Project finished early, I said emotionlessly. Great. She stood on her toes to kiss me, but I dodged. What's wrong? Are you tired? She asked, concerned. A little, I said, sitting on the sofa. Jess, I have a question. Answer honestly. Jessica looked nervous. What question? Have you done anything to betray me in the last 10 years? She paused, then shook her head. No, why would I betray you? Really? I stared into her eyes. Really? Honey, why are you asking this? She tried to sit next to me, but I stood up. I went to the study and brought back the photos, returning to the living room. Then explained these photos. I threw the photos on the coffee table. Seeing the photos, Jessica turned pale. Her hands trembled. Her eyes darted around. Where? Where did you get these photos? You're asking me where I got them? I sneered. Explain why you were at that villa with Chris Evans. Why that child looks like him. Jessica started crying. Honey, let me explain. Explain. I shouted. Explain how you've been lying to me for 10 years. Explain how you've been treating me like an idiot. It's not what you think. Jessica cried. Evans and I. You, and Evans what? I approached her. What's your relationship? Jessica broke down, kneeling on the floor. We know each other. But we didn't. Didn't what? Didn't get married? Didn't have a child? I took out more photos, including copies of their marriage certificate. How do you explain these? Seeing the marriage certificate, Jessica completely collapsed, sobbing hysterically. I'm sorry, honey. I was wrong. You're sorry now? I stared down at her. Too late. Honey, listen to me. Evans and I were together a long time ago. I love you now. She crawled over to grab my leg, but I kicked her away. A long time ago? Your child is 8 years old. What do you call a long time ago? That child isn't mine. Jessica babbled. It's Evans and some other woman. I threw the DNA test at her. Is this fake too? Seeing the DNA report, Jessica was speechless, just kneeling and crying, repeatedly saying sorry. I looked at her, feeling nothing but disgust. For 10 years, she acted like a good wife, while living a happy life with another man. What did she think I was? Michael, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I'll never see him again. Jessica begged. Forgive. I sneered. Do you think this can be forgiven? Yes, if you forgive me, I'll do anything. Anything? I thought of my plan. Okay, if you'll do anything. I took out the divorce papers I prepared. Sign this. Jessica cried harder. No, honey, don't divorce me. I'm really sorry. Sign, I said coldly. I won't sign it. She shook her head. Honey, give me a chance, I'll change. I crouched down, grabbed her hair, and forced her to look at me. Jessica, you think I'll believe you? You've been lying for 10 years. I don't want to see your fake face for another minute. I let go, turning to leave. You have 3 days. Sign it, or I'll ruin you and Evans. I heard Jessica sobbing, but I didn't turn back. The game had just begun. For the next 3 days, Jessica tried to win me back. She knelt and cried all night, admitting her relationship with Chris Evans, saying she loved me now, begging for another chance. But I felt dead inside. The next day, she asked her friend to plead for her. Michael, Jess is sorry. She hasn't eaten, just cries, her friend said, grabbing my arm. You've been married for so long. It's a pity to throw it away. I stared at her coldly. Do you know about her and Evans? Her friend's face changed. So you knew. I shook her off. You all thought I was an idiot. There's nothing more to say. On the third day, Jessica's parents came. Her mother cried as soon as she saw me. Michael, we spoiled Jess. It's our fault. Please forgive her. And this isn't about her upbringing, I said calmly. She lied for 10 years. The damage can't be undone. What will happen to Jess if you divorce? She can't do anything without you, her father pleaded. I looked at the old couple, feeling a pang of sorrow. They were also victims harmed by their daughter. Uncle, Aunt, this isn't your fault. But Jessica and I are over. I turned and left. On the third night, Jessica made a final attempt, threatening suicide. Michael, if you divorce me, I'll kill myself. She held a knife to her throat. I looked at her, pitiful and ridiculous. You think that'll work? I lit a cigarette. You can die if you want. You're already dead to me. Hearing me, Jessica started trembling. You're really cruel. I laughed. You're worse. I grabbed a knife. Don't die in my house. It'll stain the floor. Jessica collapsed, sobbing. Why? Why this? I love you. Love me? I knelt to look at her. If you love me, why lie for 10 years? Why make me a joke? Jessica was stunned, not realizing I knew so much. You know everything. I know you lied for 10 years. I know you used me. I stood up, staring down at her. How many of Evan's investments came from me? Jessica paled. I know how you laughed at me. We never laughed at you. No. I took out my phone, playing a recording. Evans, that Thompson guy is a fool, being cheated on for 10 years. But it's good. His resources are helping my career. Jessica broke down. Michael, I didn't know he'd say that. Now you know. You saw me as a fool to use. I turned off the recording. Sign. I put the divorce papers in front of her. Jessica cried, but finally signed. Watching her, I felt nothing, just relief. Good. I took the papers. We're done. I turned to leave. Jessica hugged my leg. Michael, can't you give me another chance? I'll end things with Evans. I looked down without emotion. Too late. I shook her off, leaving the house I'd lived in for 10 years. But this was just the beginning. They'd pay a bigger price. After the divorce, I started my revenge. As a film investor, I was influential. I had 100 ways to ruin a celebrity. First, I used my connections to blacklist Chris Evans. I called every producer, director, and investor I knew. Tony, there's an actor named Chris Evans. Don't use him. Why? Isn't he a good actor? He has character issues. Can't say more, but trust me. Because of my reputation, a dozen projects dropped Evans. I contacted several entertainment news editors. I have a big story. What story? Chris Evans has been secretly married for 10 years, has an 8-year-old daughter. I have proof. Really? We can't just publish that. I guarantee it. I'll provide evidence. With my guarantee, they agreed to pursue the story. But I wouldn't let them publish it yet. I had to choose the right moment. Evans was attending an awards ceremony, nominated for Best Actor. I'd expose him that day. He'd be ruined in front of the entire country. Besides the media, I used other resources. I had his business deals investigated, finding his endorsement contracts had morality clauses. A scandal would allow brands to terminate and demand compensation. Evans had also invested in a restaurant. I contacted them all, planning to pressure the restaurant. Everything was set, but Jessica came to my company. Mr. Thompson and Mrs. Miller wants to see you. My assistant, Kevin, reported. Jessica? Let her in. Jessica appeared. She looked terrible, her eyes swollen. Michael, can we talk? What's to talk about? We're divorced. I read my files. I know you're going after Evans. She said, please leave him alone. I looked at her, sneering. You're begging me to spare your lover? He's not my lover, Jessica said. I ended it. Ended it. I laughed. You think I believe that? It's true. She looked at me. I'm immigrating, never seeing him again. She seemed sincere. So what? You lied for 10 years. Now you end it. Michael, we're sorry, but Evans, he has his reasons. Reasons? I stood up. What reasons let him lie for 10 years? When he started, his company wanted him single. If he went public, he'd be blacklisted. Jessica explained. We had to. So you used me? I said. Your reasons are your problem. Jessica looked scared. Sorry. It's our fault, but please, spare him. Spare him. I laughed. When were we really married? You were acting. I loved you, she cried. I remember your kindness. Loved me. I approached. Why not tell me the truth? Why make me a fool for 10 years? Jessica was speechless, just crying. You know how to cry? I said. Too late. I'll make you pay. I'll show the world. Michael. She knelt. Please, don't ruin him. What's the point? Watching her, I felt a surge of pleasure. This was what I wanted. I'd make her beg. I'd make her know the cost of betrayal. The point. I knelt. Seeing you suffer is my point. You've changed. She looked at me. You weren't like this. You made me this way, I said. You taught me there's no real love. I sat back down. Get out. Don't let me see you. Jessica wanted to speak, but left. I watched her go, satisfied. But this was just the start. The real show was later. A week later, I got a surprise call. Mr. Thompson, this is Chris Evans. Can we meet? I didn't think Evans would call. You want to see me? I laughed. Why? I know you're targeting me. I think we should talk, he said. I have something to say. I considered it. I wanted to see him beg. Tonight at 8, Emerald Restaurant. Thank you for the opportunity. I told my assistant to install recording devices. I'd record everything. At 8 p.m., I arrived. Evans was waiting. Up close, he was charismatic. No wonder Jessica fell for him. But he was a creep. Mr. Thompson, thank you for seeing me. Evans shook my hand. I sat down. What do you want? Evans looked embarrassed, but composed himself. Mr. Thompson, I apologize for Jessica and me. Apologize? I scoffed. An apology isn't enough. I know, he said. We wronged you. But can we move on? Move on. I sneered. Act like nothing happened. No, Evans said. I want to compensate you. Compensate? I was interested. How? I'll transfer all my assets. He said. Houses, cars, investments, movie money. I was surprised. You think I need your money? I know you don't. Evans said. But it's the only way. I watched him, wondering if he was acting. But he seemed genuine. Evans, I said. I love Jessica. He lowered his head. I gave her everything. Money, status, love, even dignity. I said. What did she give me? A 10-year lie. Mr. Thompson, you know what angers me most? I interrupted. Not the betrayal, but the fact I was a joke. Evans looked confused. You don't know? I said. People knew I was being cheated on, but not me. Do you know how they laugh? I didn't know. Didn't know. I showed the recording. Evans paled. Mr. Thompson, that's not how I meant it. Not how you meant it. I said. What did you mean? Use my feelings, use my resources, then laugh at me. No. Evans tried to explain. I was impulsive. You thought I was an easy mark? Evans said nothing. You want forgiveness? I said, standing. Unless you can rewind time, you'll pay. Please. Evans stood. Punish me, but spare the innocent. The innocent. I laughed. Jessica, your daughter. Evans looked terrible. Lily's a child. She doesn't know. So what? I said. She's evidence. Why protect her? Please. Evans shouted. Punish me, but spare the child. Watching him, I felt joy. This was his weakness. You love your daughter? She's my life. Evans cried. Please forgive me, but spare Lily. I looked at him, satisfied. This was what I wanted. I wanted them to know betrayal had a price. I'll think about it, I said, getting my coat. You have to withstand my revenge. Mr. Thompson. I left, ignoring him. In the car, I thought about Evan's face. His fear, his despair, his pain made me happy. But it wasn't enough. They'd know this was the start. The awards ceremony arrived. Tonight, the country would watch. And I destroy Chris Evans. At 3 p.m., I call the editors. Publish at 8:00 p.m. Are you sure today? The ceremony is tonight, one said. I want impact. I said, the bigger the better. At 5 p.m., I contacted Evans' endorsement brands. You might need to make an announcement, I said. What announcement? Terminating your relationship with Evans. Why? What happened? You'll know tonight. Announce it first, or your brand will suffer. I also contacted the restaurant's mall, having them prepare a termination notice. Everything was ready. At 7 p.m., the ceremony began. I watched at home, waiting for the show. Evans wore a suit, looking good. He smiled and waved. He didn't know he was going to hell. At 8 p.m., my phone rang. The news has been published. Good. I searched Evans' name on Twitter. The news appeared. Hashtag Chris Evans' secret marriage scandal. Hashtag Chris Evans' secret wife revealed. Hashtag Chris Evans' 8-year-old daughter. The topics trended. I clicked the links, seeing the photos. Marriage certificate, DNA report, family photos, every piece of evidence. People went crazy. Is this real? 10 years. Isn't that lying to fans? I want a refund. Disgusting, lying for years. On TV, the ceremony continued, unaware. Soon, there was commotion. People were running, calling. Evans was preparing backstage. At 8:15, Best Actor was announced. Evans was nominated. He smiled, clapping. But his agent looked terrible. At 8:20, his agent showed him his phone. Evans paled, stopping clapping. He looked around. The atmosphere was awkward. The host changed the schedule. The audience was focused on Evans' scandal. My phone rang, media wanting to confirm. This is huge. Evans' team wants us to retract. What do we do? Don't retract. I said, refuse. At 8:30, the brands terminated Evans. At 8:40, the restaurant received its termination notice. At 8:50, 3 Evans movies announced recasting. In 50 minutes, Evans went from idol to enemy. I felt great. This was the price of betrayal. At 9 o'clock, the ceremony ended. Evans left, protected by security. He looked pale. I turned off the TV, opened wine, celebrating. But this was just the start. The real revenge was beginning. The next day, the industry discussed Evans. Media reported, fans quit. Worse, Jessica's identity was revealed. Hashtag Chris Evans' wife is Michael Thompson SX. Hashtag Michael Thompson cheated on. Hashtag Jessica Miller 2 timing details. I frowned. I didn't reveal my relationship. Someone dug it up. I wanted the world to know they cheated. At 10 a.m., my assistant came in. Mr. Thompson, Mrs. Miller is downstairs. I decided to see her. Jessica appeared, looking worse, her eyes hopeless. Are you happy? She said. Happy. I laughed. This is just the beginning. How do I stop you? She said. The world knows. I said. I want you to suffer. You're crazy. Jessica said. It's your fault, I said. You lied for 10 years. What do you want? She said. Evans is ruined. I said. I want your lives. Jessica paled. You want to kill us? That's messy, I said. I want you to choose death. No, Jessica screamed. You can't. I can. I said. I'm a victim. I'll do what I want. Lily is innocent. Innocent. I laughed. She's evidence. She's nothing. Please. Jessica knelt. Take my life. Spare Lily. Watching her, I felt joy. I wanted her to beg. Does it help? I said. You should have thought of this 10 years ago. I'm sorry, she cried. Give us a chance. A chance. I stood up. Did you give me a chance? Jessica cried. I turned. You have 3 choices, I said. 1, your family dies. 2, you die, I spare them. 3, Evans dies, I spare you and Lily. No. Jessica said, "Don't make me do this." "Then I'll choose," I said. "You'll all suffer." I called my assistant. "Get her out." Security dragged her out. I watched her go, satisfied. I picked up my phone. "It's me. What do you need?" "Evans and Miller. Make them disappear." "Understood. In a week. Make it clean." "No problem." I hung up looking at the city. Soon, there would be 2 less pieces of trash, and I'd start over. 6 months later, I sat in a cafe, reading a news story. Actor Chris Evans and wife Jessica Miller's suicide. A photo showed the police at their house. I drank my coffee. The article said they left a note, apologizing, leaving their daughter to Jessica's parents. I closed the paper, taking out my phone. Trash gone, life restarts. A picture of the beach. Friends liked it. Out of the dark. New start, good luck. I smiled. The trash was gone. I could start over. I stood up, walking out. It was sunny. The world was clean.